Well, welcome to Riding Shotgun with Tupper, if I don't hit my own dog, who's running along here in a little bit of snow. I know I didn't do one last week. A lot of things came up, and was going to do it Tuesday, and I decided, you know, let's wait till Wednesday, because then we can talk about the Illinois Notre Dame game. In addition to Josh's decision regarding Lovie Smith, and I had one other topic I wanted to touch on as well. Let's just start briefly with the game last night. Notre Dame winning 76-74. I mean, an interesting game. You know, Illinois down 12 with 5.5 minutes to go, or whatever it was there, and came back. And you know, a long three by Aaron Jordan and some missed free throws by Notre Dame opened the door, and Trent Frazier came down trailing by 2, ball in his hands, pulled up and took a three-pointer that would have won the game. It looked like it was on target. For the most part it was. It was in the cylinder, zoop, spun out, and close but no cigar. They lose that game. You know, it was a weird game. I thought they played really well in stretches. And then I thought they had some just costly lapses too, offensively and defensively. Kind of really bothered me defensively when they got away from, you know, pressuring the ball hard. And I don't know why. I don't think that was by design. I think that's a young team that kind of strays from its personality. And then, you know, offensively, they get in like some little mini stretches there where they stop moving the ball, and I think that hurts them as well. AJ with 23, I believe, last night, continues to have a really good start to the season. Got to give him a lot of kudos at this point. And then Georgie Bashana-Shavili, you know, Georgie, we've been talking about him on these rides around the farm here since we became acquainted with him. A big personality, a really fun guy to be around. You know, a guy who was born in the country of Georgia, family moved to Austria, he went to New Jersey, Illinois recruited him there, he committed, we weren't sure what you had. As soon as you meet him, you know this guy is something unusual. He's the guy who's taken professional dance lessons for years, has lots of moves, anxious to show them to you, not afraid to talk, not afraid of anything. But is he just a big personality, or does he actually have some game? And I think very, very clearly he's got game. Way more than we saw. This is one of the best recruiting steals in a long time. A big man who has a low post game, who has better athleticism than you thought, who can work with either hand, who can also step out and shoot the ball, who is not afraid to gather guys up in a huddle and talk to them like a senior would. I just am very impressed with him, and last night was really good. 22 points for Georgie last night. Disappointing, however, that Trent Frazier had just 6 points, and for at least the second time that I can remember, seemed reluctant to shoot the basketball. I don't know if someone in their defensive style gets up into him, and then he becomes a little, you know, a little bit paranoid about getting his shot off. I don't know what that is. And I know he's trying to do more than just score, and other guys do too, but Trent's a scorer, and he's got to hit some shots. And I have no problem with that last one that he took, but I just wish he had taken more. You know, I only had 8 points, but he had 9 rebounds, and I thought he was part of their improving defense later in the game. So, you know, when you're in a close game, you think of plays that made a difference, and I can't let go of the fact that technical foul on Kipper Nichols was costly and just silly. What is the point of that? You know, to shoulder that guy, if referees are looking, you're gonna get that. They're gonna hit you with that. It costs them a number of free throws plus possession of the ball, and you end up losing by 2, and you look back and go, you know, how would this game have gone if that hadn't happened? So that was really disappointing. And now you go into the early Big Ten play. Remember, 2 Big Ten games early December, then we resume with 4 non-conference games, then pick it up again January the 3rd. The first game will be Sunday at Nebraska, and then a couple days later they'll play Ohio State up at the United Center. So the schedule's brutal, and that's why you needed to pick off a couple wins. You needed to probably win the Georgetown game, and you needed to probably win last night or one of those Maui games, and that hasn't happened. And I think it's just hard for young teams to learn how to win and then learn how to repeat it, learn how to sustain it. I think if it happens for this group, Georgie's going to have a role in it. I think he's just too powerful a presence, and he's a big voice, and I think guys are already kind of looking up to him, and that's surprising to me. So, and then in football, the season ended last Saturday with a loss at Northwestern. At least it wasn't an embarrassing score. But my dog's on point. What's she saying? Probably nothing. And then Josh wastes little time to announce that Lovie is back, and Lovie is back with a contract extension, 2 years tacked on to his current deal. He had 3 left. He now goes until 2023. The money details not announced, and I think they're important. But here's what I got out of it. I understand it. I think from Josh's perspective, it really makes sense. I don't know that I would have done it, but I get it, because if you're not going to fire Lovie now, and there are a number of reasons why you wouldn't do that, take Josh at his word that he believes that this is a huge job and that he promised Lovie the patience to get this job done. They're still an incredibly young team. They had a lot of injuries. He likes the direction of his leadership, of his attention to academics. He has not been bashful about lowering the boom on social missteps and so forth and so on. He certainly is not getting the extension because of the sparkling way the defense is played. We know that. But beyond that, if you're going to keep Lovie for one more year, the year almost becomes wasted if you don't do things to help him further. And that is, with the extension, it should make it easier for him to recruit. It should make it easier for him to retain coaches. You cannot lose Rod Smith right now, the offensive coordinator, who did a really great job this year. This offense was light years better than what we've been seeing. And it should be easier then to attract new coaches, because you have 2 openings with the departure of Hardy Nickerson and Donnie Abraham. And if Lovie's going to go hire a defensive coordinator, or if he's going to be the play caller and hire perhaps a linebackers coach or whatever it is he may hire, he's got a little better opportunity to do that with the contract extension. The thing I would tell fans is it does not mean that Josh's patience is unaffected until 2023. I do not believe that. I believe Josh has probably told Lovie, this is just my opinion, has probably told Lovie, look, I want to do this, and I am going to give you more time, and I know it's a tough job, and I'm with you, but next year, these are all your kids. You lose 1 player off defense, linebacker Delshon Phillips. You've already got his replacement in the program, Milo Eifler from Washington, a transfer who sat out this year, who you plug in immediately, who's a guy with college football experience. And that defense has to be enormously more effective than it was this year. It was embarrassing. 5 times over 50, 3 times exactly 63 points. Come on. And that's really disappointing. And I would like to be able to say, I really see it turning the corner. I see opportunities for it too, because they're getting older, because they're finally getting some upperclassmen onto the field this next year, and because that offense returns a lot of important people, including Reggie Corbin and 4/5 of that offensive line. You know, they got to teach guys to catch the damn football. That became aggravating down the stretch. But if Josh does not see that, and watch and see when these numbers come out on this new deal, if no additional money is added to the buyout, then it becomes easier for Josh to say, look, I'm patient, but you know, my patience has kind of run its course prior to 2023. And Josh would like nothing better than to say, my patience was rewarded by the great job Lovie did and his staff, and look, we're going to a bowl game next year where maybe we're 6-6, maybe we're 7-5, but we've made an improvement, and that's the kind of thing that fans could at least hold in their hands and say, okay, we have an opportunity now to go to a bowl game, even if it's a lesser bowl. And you know, I just know that when Lovie had his initial conversation, when Josh and Lovie had their initial conversation down in Florida, you know, remember Josh went down to Lovie's house and they talked. And Lovie felt really undercut by what the Buccaneers did to him. You know, they hired him. I'm sure he had a similar conversation with them. Hey, your team's in bad shape. It's going to take some time. You know, are you willing to hang with me? Yes, we are, Lovie. Yes, we are, Lovie. Yes, we are, Lovie. And 2 years later, they said, well, no, we're not, Lovie. And I just think he felt betrayed by that. And so I'm sure he had a conversation with Josh that said, I need to know that you're genuinely going to be patient. Josh knows this is a big job. Lovie knew it was a big job. Ron Turner had told Lovie it's a big job. And so once Josh, who is a man of his word, promises Lovie that patience and loyalty, I think it's got to extend beyond the third year. And so we'll see where all this goes. But I don't think it automatically has to go to 23. We'll see what the numbers say, and we'll see how they reshape this staff on the defensive side of the football here in the off season, and whether recruiting can pick up here as well. One final thing. I will really miss Nicky Allegretti. You know, I've covered the Illinois athletics for a long time, 40 years essentially. And I've met some great kids who have been just terrific examples of what you want in a college program in terms of loyal guys, leaders, stand up through tough times and answer questions and be the spokesman of the program, and then get all of your athletic potential from yourself and be a good student and be a no problem kid socially, and at the end you hold your degree and you hold your pride and you maybe hold some records. I think of someone like Malcolm Hill did that. Malcolm got about all you could get out of yourself and left the school with his head held high, and the school was lucky to have had him for the time he was here. I say the same thing about Nicky Allegretti, who was not only an outstanding player who I believe will play in the NFL, but is as good a leader as you'll ever see, who stood up at those post-game press conferences as a dependable voice of the program, and did it after tough losses, close losses, blowout losses that weren't his fault. He never pointed a finger. He never blamed anybody. He always said, I could have played better. We're going to hang together. We're going to work hard. He went to kids. There's a player in the program, I don't want to mention the kid's name because it'll embarrass him, but who's had a struggle. And he has all the athletic ability in the world. He's an NFL body. And I asked Nicky one time, what's his problem? It seems easy to me, work hard at it, but it's not that easy for this kid. He's never had family in his life that he could turn to. Nicky said, if I had some of the problems this kid's had, I would just turn to my dad, my mom, my brother, and I would get all the help and direction and guidance and encouragement I could ever want. And he said, this kid's got nobody. And he says, I've tried to be that person for him. You know, I've tried to, you know, stand up for him and encourage him and support him. And I think it's going to work for this kid, but it's been very hard. So in addition to being the football leader and the on-field leader and the offensive line room leader, you know, and all that stuff, you know, he's also tried to be a pseudo-dad to kids who don't have a dad in their lives and that kind of thing. And I tell you what, I just respect him so much. Even after that Northwestern game, his last game, you know, he could say whatever he wants. He could say, man, you know, it would have been nice if we hadn't had all the turmoil we had in this program and we hadn't had to go through all these things we had to go through. He never said any of that. You know, he said, I'm an Illini for life, and I'm always going to support this program and hang with these guys. And man, if you're the head coach, you look over at a guy like that and you say, good Lord, if every kid could be that kind of guy, my job would be easier, our team would be better, we would win more. But that's a maturity level that you don't see with every kid. Nicky Allegretti will be hugely successful in his work life. He'll be a great husband and father. I've talked to him about that kind of thing, and I believe he will play in the National Football League. And I'll really miss him. I just think he's just an extraordinary kid. Hey, that's all for now. Mike Thomas resigns at Cleveland State as the athletic director, going into some kind of private business. I don't know all that went on there, but just passing that along. And we will try to get back on a Tuesday schedule next week. It's easier to predict in football and basketball if there's a game on a Tuesday. I'd like to not do it that day because then the game becomes kind of, we're a little late on talking about the game. So I'll try to post some reminders on Twitter, and I'll get this on Twitter here today. And have a great weekend, everybody. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.